What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla in the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, there's some news coming out that the UK sales are down nearly 60%. And I get in some areas, we are seeing sales improving, right? If you look at like Norway, for example. But then there's other areas like Germany, China, and the UK where we tend to see their sales going down. So the mainstream media does love to prioritize different areas like Germany, China, and bigger European countries. They also like to prioritize when, bad news about Tesla when we start to see their sales going down. And as a result of this negative news, Tesla's down a little bit. It's not down too much. It's only down 0.6%. But the overall market is what is playing a role in, I think, kind of like dictating Tesla's price action. So we're entering a very, very critical place, and I will talk about why that is. Tesla's technically in a range. As we hit this lower trend line, we tend to bounce off this around the 303 area. But as we end up hitting resistance right here at 310, we tend to reject. This is actually very close to where our 20 EMA happens to be, so we're just range bound. Now, when it comes to the news, keep in mind there's another factor for why the market is selling off. At 10 o'clock a.m., we got the ISM services numbers, and right now the services activity is stagnating. So we're seeing the PMI reports for the services. This is technically below expectations. Business activity was a little bit weak, and then employment is weak. New orders are below expectations, and prices are going up. So this is a somewhat inflationary, and simultaneously the services sector is just not looking as strong. So that as a whole in the U.S. is what is dragging the stock market down to an extent. And then there's also been a lot of talk about President Trump's tariffs. So, for example, President Trump has announced that he wants to increase the tariffs on copper to about 50% for now. That's going to be affecting more than $15 billion worth of goods, at least for the time being. President Trump has also threatened to impose a 35% tariff on the European Union if they do not fulfill their promise to invest $600 billion into American infrastructure. That is what President Trump has announced. He said that the U.S. has made important strides towards this deal with the UK, and they have to once again hold to their end of the bargain. He's saying if they don't do this, they're going to be hit with a 35% tariff. So he made that very, very clear. And then on top of this, President Trump is threatening more tariffs on different products. So he's saying that he wants to increase tariffs on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. He could be announcing a lot of these tariffs next week, but particularly for semiconductors and chips, the tariffs could be announced next week. And he also said that the tariffs on pharmaceuticals could go up to about 150%, and then they could end up going as high as 250% afterwards. So keep that in mind. Once again, another very important piece of news. So as far as the market's going, we're just range bound on Tesla. If we get back above this 312 area, we're looking for a bounce for 315 or above. But if we lose this support right here where this trend line is, we're looking for a dump back down towards 300 and 295. I could see us basically retest this trend line, maybe see a small dip and just consolidate. But as of right now, we're just consolidating. I think that's going to be the most likely possibility for us as we see a lot of sideways price action. On top of this, when it comes to SPY, okay, we're also looking kind of weak, but we're not doing too badly. So we got a rejection. We were talking about this possibility in my earlier video, and this is what's slowing Tesla down to an extent as well. We also have a lower high that was made. We have a high up here, a lower high, but we haven't lost critical support. If we lose 626.5 right here, then I think we dump to fill this gap over here, taking us down towards 621. But if we get back above 630.5, then we're looking for a bigger bounce back up towards these higher levels. My gut tells me that, at least for the time being, as this is trying to get back up above these levels, so if 630 breaks, we're looking for a bigger bounce. But if 626.5 ends up failing us, we could be dipping. Whether we get a small bounce or not is to be determined, but either way, we're still favoring this gap fill very soon. Whether we bounce and then dump, or if we just, if we don't get much of a bounce, if we just fail from right here and we end up losing 6 to 6.5, then yes, we could be dumping to fill this gap. So we'll see if we reclaim 630 or not. That's the range 630 and then 6 to 6.5. Whichever way we break determines a bigger move, either up or down. I do favor we're going to eventually fill this gap, though, whether we see a bounce first or if we just don't bounce much and just dump from here. So that's what I believe. QQQ, same thing. We have 566 is the main resistance. We rejected here. We need to get back above 563 to push for 566. But if we lose 563, we're looking for a dip back down to fill this gap around 554. So we'll see how it goes. So be careful in case we do get a rejection. We could consolidate for now. We'll see if we end up dipping. On the IWM, if we break 221, we're looking for a push to 222 plus. If we lose 218, we're looking for a dump back down towards this 216 area. So right now we're range bound between 221 and 218, going back and forth between supply and demand. But we do favor downside if this gets a big rejection, so keep that in mind. For ES, we have 6,400 as a big resistance. We're going to see if we break through this. If we don't, we could just continue to reject and dump back down towards 6,300. So we're going to see how this ends up going, especially as time goes on, if we get some kind of rejection or not. We need ES to reclaim 63.60 to bounce higher. If we can't do that, we're going to be once again favoring 63.70 or the low 6,300s to 62.70, excuse me. We could go either way, but for now we're favoring downside, so keep that in mind for ES and NQ. We need to reclaim 23,100 or 23,300 to bounce. If not, we could be favoring more downside. Bitcoin is looking more bearish unless we get back above 114,000. We're favoring 112,000 or below. Tesla's looking kind of weak. Might be retesting this trend line. Could be looking for a small dip back down towards 303, and we'll see if we bounce, but I do see some downside coming. Nvda needs to hold 177, or else we could be dipping towards 175, so we'll see how well it holds up. Apple's also dipping. We could be looking for a move back down to 202. And then for the rest of these, we have AMD. This is consolidating. We're stuck between 178 is resistance, 175 or 172 is support. So we're still range bound right now. So we'll see which way we end up breaking. If this is a lower high rejection, we may make a lower high at 178, then continue to dump back down to 169. The downside potential remains. Coinbase has 300 as support. We have to hold that, or else we could continue to fall to 290. Amazon might be trying to get back up to 218 if we hold above 215, and we'll see if we reject. Might be a small bounce on this. Meta might be retesting 770 before it starts dipping towards 756. Google's on an uptrend looking for basically 198, and we're going to see if we reject. And Microsoft is looking for basically 529. If that fails us, we're looking for a gap fill for 522. With that being said, the VIX is breaking out here. We're going to see if this pushes higher or not. We're going to see if it comes down first before it eventually breaks out. I do think it's going to push to the 20s again to fill this gap. But it's either going to do this, it's either going to go straight up like this for this gap fill, or it's about to basically dip a little bit first and then see a big bounce, meaning that the stock market's either going to bounce and then dump, or just basically dumps from here. So we'll see. Do we essentially get another big rally? Do we just rally like this and then see some kind of dump? Or do we essentially fail to get above 630 and then we just reject and dump from here? It's got to be one of those two. That's what I think is going to likely happen. That's my prediction. We're going to eventually dump to fill this gap, but I don't know if we get one more pump first and then dump, or if we just dump from here. We'll see. Anyways, that's it for this one. I thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.